Travel is a wildly privileged thing to do, but just because it's a privilege doesn't mean it's all rainbows and unicorns. We all have travel horror stories and things we hate about travel, even if our Instagram captions beg to differ. Hashtag blessed. But what I hate most about travel has very little to do with the one-off travel horror story, the mundanity of waiting at an airport, or praying to your deity of choice that you can find a bathroom before your body ejects a local specialty you're still adjusting to. No. Because when I think about travel, I'm thinking more broadly, like going across town to try out a new restaurant as well as landing in faraway places. And no matter where I go, the disappointment is always the same. I see it when I look out the train window or shuffling around town on my own 2 feet. The absolutely absurd amount of space and infrastructure devoted to these things, the pollution they cause, and the horrific amount of people these things kill each and every year, all the while still being celebrated by many as symbols of freedom instead of the wildly costly albatrosses these death machines truly are. And breathe. If you know anything about me, then you probably knew where this was heading as soon as you saw the title. And if you don't, then allow me to introduce myself. I'm Joe Bauer, a food and travel writer originally from the shores of Lake Erie outside of Cleveland, Ohio, who's been living in Germany for the better part of 7 years. I make recipe videos and travel videos, usually focused on trail running, hiking, food, or all of the above, highlighting local voices as much as I can. And if you saw my video on how I view Europe as an American, then you know what I'm talking about was a major reason why I always wanted to try living in Europe. So what the hell am I talking about? What is it that I hate about travel so much, and is, in my humble opinion, a manifestation of the worst of human impulses? And is it possible that I can drag this reveal out any further? Cars. I'm talking about cars. Cars are freaking everywhere. They're parked on the street, in front of houses, and in giant multi-story garages built just for them. Seriously, go outside wherever you are in the world and have a look. Think about your travels. The amount of space dedicated exclusively to cars is objectively absurd. Now I know what some of you are thinking. I love my car, road trip, woo noises, yeah. Okay, fine, woo indeed, I guess. But road trips don't account for the vast majority of car travel. And when they're not cruising down the open road in some kind of car commercial cliche, they're killing people. And a lot of them. In 2018, the World Health Organization wrote that annual road traffic deaths had reached 1.35 million and became the leading killer of people aged 5 to 29 years, with the burden disproportionately felt by pedestrians and cyclists. That's not even taking into account the links between car pollution, poor air quality, respiratory diseases, and other injuries. Then you'd get into the tens of millions. Put that in the next Built for Tough commercial. Think about terrorism. I'm sure some of you have traveled to countries and had friends or family warn about terrorism, but I've never heard of anyone saying, careful traveling there, it's heavily car reliant. But maybe we should, because according to the Global Terrorism Index, deaths from terrorism fell by 9% in 2022 to 6,701 deaths and is now 38% lower than at its peak in 2015. Meanwhile, billions are spent countering terrorism, all the while billions are spent expanding vehicular capacity all across the globe. To be clear, I don't blame people with cars themselves. I've met so many people over the years who loathe cars with the same intense ferocity that I do, but are trapped in a system that practically demands using one. And some societies, looking at you, America, tend to shame people who don't have a car and just don't want to have a car. I've been asked so many times in my adult life, how did you get there without a car? As if people haven't been moving around themselves for tens of thousands of years without the damn thing. Oh, I don't know, I closed my eyes, made a wish, and started flapping my arms. That's how I got here. Unfortunately, we don't all have the financial freedom to move someplace where you can live completely independent of cars. But if you are someone who wants to avoid cars as much as humanly possible, then I got a couple of tips for you on how to avoid cars when you're traveling. First, I use RoamToRio.com to look up any and all public transit options to get from place to place when I travel. Not every public transit system is perfectly linked up with Google Maps. So if you're only using Google Maps, then you might be missing out on some routes. Plus, if you use Roam to Rio, it'll show you the best transit option regardless of what time it is, whereas on Google Maps, it'll show you the best option for the time you've selected, which is usually when you're actively searching. That's how you find those bizarre 36-hour transit journeys on Google Maps. It's because it's 1 in the morning and Google Maps thinks you want to leave now. Just go to bed bed already! Nothing good happens after midnight anyways! Next, use the apps and websites of local transit authorities. I was just in Wales and found a direct bus from my little national park town to Cardiff on the local transit app that I couldn't find on Google Maps or Rome to Rio. And that's all I got for you this time. Thanks as always for watching. Like, subscribe, and leave a comment letting me know what you think is the worst thing about travel.